Hi, welcome back to the Tip of the Tongue business series. I'm chatting today with Sarah Hudson of Bounce Back with Sarah. You need to be following her on Instagram. I'm going to tell you that now so that you don't miss out on her hot tips and techniques around how to achieve financial well-being. And something that Sarah and I share is a passion about supporting people in achieving that. So thank you so much for your time today, Sarah. It's really great to be chatting with you.
Lovely to talk to you too, Sian.
So something we've talked about in the past is why we're so passionate about financial wellness and helping other people achieve that. Can you share with me what that means to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been a single mum a couple of times. I haven't had a great level of success with my relationship. So I know what it's like to live hand to mouth day after day and, raise your children and have to worry about where your money comes from. And in my experience over the last 25 years of running my own business, I've been involved with quite a lot of women's networking groups. And what I've learnt is that there are loads of women in their 50s who have come out of relationships with little or no money. They believed in their partners that they would be provided for, and they've come away with virtually no superannuation, no assets, and they're having to start again in their 50s. And they've often been out of the workplace for a long period of time raising children. And so subsequently they've got less superannuation than men, and they have had less opportunities in the workforce to be able to work their way up to get a reasonable income. So I'm passionate about teaching women in particular, although it's not just isolated to women, but, it's seeking a target audience. You've got to, have a passion for one area. And mine is about teaching women to understand money and to how to manage it before they find themselves in these situations, and to help those women who are 50 and above and find themselves starting again. I found myself at 50 as well with no superannuation, because having raised my family and worked for myself, I didn't have the cash to be able to afford to put any money into super. And I found at 50 it was about time that I started thinking about what I was going to do in retirement. So fortunately, I've been in a position to be able to put more than just the minimum amount into super, and I'm hopeful of my future. I'm hopeful that by the time I retire, I'll be in a good position. And I want to share that information and share those values with people like us.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, isn't it? It's more common than people realise that, older people, particularly women, find themselves in a situation that they don't have the knowledge to help themselves. I think that's a really important point to note, that it is more common than we realise. But I think for me, a lot of the thing has been around actually receiving assistance and how to go about doing that. What do you think holds people back from actually reaching out to get help?
Oh, I think there's a couple of things, Sian. I think one of them is they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed that they've got to this point and they didn't know anything about money. They're embarrassed that they trusted somebody so much and they thought that they'd be taken care of. But also, I don't think they know what to ask. They think that society expects them to understand things, and they don't know where to go, and they're bamboozled by the possibility of not understanding what they're going to be told. So, for example, if you haven't had any exposure to the finance industry or looking after money or going to appointments with banks or accountants, you'd go in there and you wouldn't understand what you were being told. So I find it's really important to explain everything really simplistically and to make women understand that it's not complicated. It's actually really easy to understand money if you break it down and look at it in easy language.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think one of the things I love so much about when we do our workshops and things is that I don't have a finance background, so I don't need to speak in jargon. I can help people talk it in a way that I know I relate to. previous experience being around, you know, having advisors come into the house and looking very smart in their suits, but talking to me and me not really walking away feeling I have any greater depth of knowledge. And
It's
similar
the
when
acronyms, isn't it? Yeah, it's the acronyms. I remember when I first started mortgage broking, I'd go to these workshops and these meetings, and people are going, oh, you know, of course the RBA and the you know, all these things, the APRA and everything, and I'm going, what are they talking about? Or DLAs and SLAs, and just speak to me in language that I can understand.
Yeah, I totally agree. Very much the same experience. It's just like, yeah, leave the paperwork and I'll read it through and I'll come back with questions, because I don't know, we're not having a two-way communication right now.
No.
Totally. So how do you go about reassuring people about the best way to, you know, communicate with you about things?
So what I like to do is obviously build rapport. That's the most important thing. But I like to always do a face-to-face meeting. And last year it was difficult, obviously, with COVID. But certainly seeing people face-to-face, or even via Zoom, you can still get that sense of person through the screen. And just to assure people that I will be holding their hand the whole way through the process, and that each little step will teach them a little bit more about how to manage their money, to give them hope and teach them the basics step by step, and understand that no matter what age they are and no matter what situation they're in, they can improve it. You know, one of the best things I did was read the Barefoot Investor, and he's fantastic. Look, he's very positive in everything he does. You know, he doesn't like mortgage brokers very much, but he's very positive about the way he breaks things down into tiny little steps and shows you that you don't have to have $1 million in superannuation to retire. You need to have something, but you can supplement your pension with a part-time job and some superannuation. So teaching people that and giving them hope that it's not hopeless for them is really important.
Yeah, I think it goes back to, you know, those first little incremental steps, isn't it? Just take one at a time. What advice do you give people who are in this situation? Where would you suggest they start?
Definitely start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start.
Do re mi.
Yes, look, there are.
So what's your do re mi of learning financial well-being?
Absolutely, my do re mi would be to take a step back, take a big deep breath, and look at the very basic steps of budgeting. So the first thing you need to do is look at what income you have, and then you look at what your expenses are. Really basic, fundamental things. You know, as long as you know how much money's coming in and how much money's going out, you can do something about controlling your money. So you look at your fixed expenses and then you look at your variable expenses. Now, obviously, your fixed expenses can't change very much unless rent's taking up an enormous part of your income, and you might have to look at, instead of having a 4-bedroom house, you move to a unit, or, you know, something like that. But if you look at your variable expenses, and that's what I am spending a lot of time talking about on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm doing some YouTube videos as well at the moment on things to look at and how to cut back your spending by, you know, do you go and spend $5 a day on a cup of coffee instead of making your own? Yeah, okay, people might not want to change their way of life, but if you are determined to improve your financial future, then you need to make some changes. And that's what taking that step back and looking at those basic fundamentals of budgeting will help you and teach you to do.
And I think it's, you know, I totally agree with what you're saying, because I think we get into patterns of behaviours that, you know, and without even realising, we might be buying 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day, and that's $25 a day. That's a lot of money each week. Or feeling that maybe we have to pay the bill every time we go out for a cup of coffee, instead of asking, can we go Dutch, or should we take it in turns? Yeah. It's just, it can be a smaller change in behavior as that makes a significant difference to your outgoings. It doesn't need to be, you know, cutting things left, right, and centre, but understanding that your lifestyle has changed. So let's live within those financial options rather than always outstretching and always creating our own stress that we haven't got the money for the things that we really need it for. So yeah, very much agree with you about that as a level of experience for people. So you must have seen some great outcomes from the work that you've done, Sarah. Is there any that you'd be happy to share with us so that people can see the benefits of really making these small changes?
Absolutely. You know, for example, teaching people to budget that helps change their lives is something that I use a lot in my mortgage broking business. So I had a young couple come to me about 3 years ago, and they had 3 or 4 credit cards and car loans and you name it, they had the lot, but they wanted to buy their own home. And they had about $10,000 in savings. And they said, oh, what should we do? Should we pay off our debt, or should we just keep saving, and just, you know, we could probably save $100 a week, but while we've got all this debt, they couldn't really save any more. So we put together a plan of working through paying off the most expensive debt first, still putting a little bit in savings, but, you know, chipping away at these loans, and taught them how to budget, showed them the simple budget tool, which is, you know, Money Smart website, for example, has some great tools that people can access for free, put in, you know, use their online budgeting. So I showed them all of that. And after 3 years of following my advice, they were debt free. They had $60,000 worth of savings, and they bought their first home.
That's amazing. What a turnaround in only 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, a lot of people would give up on that and say, oh, that's too hard. That's, you know, we want instant gratification. And that's what's so wrong with our society at the moment, is Afterpay and all of these things that are available to us is killing our ability to goal set and take our time to reach our goals. But this young couple, they were amazing. And I've had borrowers often do that. You know, they check back in with me every 3 or 6 months and say, I know we're not ready yet, but I just wanted to tell you that we've paid off another credit card and we've got this much in savings. It's so rewarding. And I think it's building that relationship that we have, so that it's not like me as a mortgage broker trying to get them to sign up to a loan when they can't really afford to. I try and balance those two roles of helping them to achieve their goals, but not putting them under due stress as well. I think it's been so rewarding. I love it.
I can clearly hear the passion, and I know that from you anyway. Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're very, very focused on delivering good outcomes for your clients. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I love your passion. It's one of the things I know we share. So yeah, let's hope that we can get a few more women in particular, but everybody on the right track to financial well-being.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really love working with you too, Sian.
Take care.
Thanks.